Begin. Good afternoon. My name is Shobha. I'm from the Bangalore chapter, and good to have you today in the class number 3. And before we get started, I have something for you all to do. What is that? If you all check your screen, you will have a quiz. As people join in, please take up this quiz and let me know if you have any challenges opening the quiz. Simple from what we've learned in the last session. Are you all able to access it?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Take some time to fill it. Anybody who was not part of the last class and has joined today? Saurabh, okay. Anybody else? Okay. So I think it's just Saurabh. For the rest of you, then it should be easy. Saurabh, do try and answer. It's pretty generic. And if you have any questions, you can always ask me or watch the recording of last session.
Sure, I will.
Oh, I don't see any responses as yet. Here, Rohit. Good, Rohit. I think you've got 30 on 30. There's somebody else who hasn't added name. Yeah, you may or may not add your name. It's up to you, but sure. Let's give it another 2-3 minutes. I'm sure you'll be able to see the right answers there is itself, right?
Yeah, Shobha, so
Yeah.
after submission, it shows the right answer.
Okay, so then we don't have to discuss the questions. You can always look at the right answers. So I'll just give it some more time for you all to. And in the meantime, if you've done, please keep a paper and pen handy. I would request you all to keep a paper and pen handy. Your notebook. If you are tech savvy and want to do it on your laptop, on your system, that also works. Then you would need a Word document open. Let me see how many responses. Okay, so quite a few of you have responded. Only 7. Okay, no, I would. Let's wait till at least 3 more. Let's reach the 10 number and then start. Okay, we are at 8. Thank you, Hitesh. Thank you so much. 8. I'm waiting for 2 more to complete. Out of 25, expecting 10 of you to complete isn't too much of an ask, is it? Okay, 9 done. I'm waiting for 1 more person to submit. And we're not even talking of 50%. Okay, good. I think I have my required number of responses. So with that, we can get started for today. Let me quickly bring up my screen. And in the meantime, any questions that any of you would like to ask? Is my screen up?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Do you all have your paper and pen handy?
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody? Perfect. Okay, so what I want you to do is write, make a big circle in center of your page or the Word document. Make a big circle. That, write, think of a recent training initiative that you were involved in. Write about the training program in the center, name of the training program.
Sorry to disturb you, ma'am. There is again disturbance like last week. Your voice is breaking.
Okay. Okay. So let me tell you all what needs to be done, and then I'll switch my network. Okay. But are you all able to hear me till now?
Yeah, we are able to hear, but sometimes it is
I'll
breaking.
take care of that. I'll try to work on that. So make that circle right, training program in the center, and now list all the individuals, teams, or departments that had a role in making this training happen and a success. You can draw, make it look like a, maybe, okay, I didn't move my screen. So you will have the training program in the center, and then you will have arrows out of it where you will list all individuals, teams, departments that had a role in making that training happen. Don't forget to draw the connecting lines to the center to show their influence. Okay, do you all know what you need to do? Any question on what needs to be done?
Good morning, madam. Can you repeat again?
I think I just switched my network. Am I audible now?
Yeah, audible.
Looks like I am back. Let me bring up. Okay, so what I want you all to do, I think I'll request Gurvinder to give me the access to present. In the meantime, draw a circle on the sheet of paper. Those of you who joined in late, write any recent training program that you were involved in, and then write around it who are the people who were involved in it. It could be individuals, teams, departments that had a role in making that training happen and were responsible for its success. And as you write, you should draw connecting lines to the center to show their influence. Okay, so now you all know what needs to be done.
Ma'am, you want the participants also to be a part of that? Say, for
Yes, I want
example,
all
if
of
there is
you
a
to do
box?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
The request is for all the 32 of you on the call. All of you do that.
No. I'm saying that in that circle, so like there is a program and there are participants also. So shall we draw a box for the participants as well?
Yes.
And to be connected?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
And if you are somebody who's already done, maybe take a picture of it and post it on the chat. Okay, I see Kamna has shared something. Hopefully my slides are back. Okay, that looks pretty interesting, Kamna. For better visibility, let me download it. Anybody else? Done. Okay, anybody else who's done? Let me know on the chat. Lead instructors, participants, places, activities, accommodating staff, marketing, higher management. Okay, so that's what Kamna has put. There is anybody else? I think NS Rao is sharing something. Priya has also shared. Okay. Okay, good. I see some of you have put it on the chat. Thank you, Hardik. Others, are you all done? Even if you have not shared it, let me know if you're all done, please. Maybe a quick show of hands to let me know that you're all done, or some thumbs up on the screens. Purushottam is adding. Okay. NS Rao, so do you have any questions, or were you raising your hands to let me know that you've completed?
That is for completion.
Perfect. Okay. So good. Now that you all have that sheet in front of you, some of you have also shared it, which is good. Now tell me, look at your sheet and tell me who directly benefited from the training, from your respective trainings, whatever you put in. Yes, Kamna.
The direct impact, I believe, is for participant and the trainer itself. I mean, in our field, it's not trainer, it's lead instructor.
Okay.
So, yeah, so participant and lead instructors direct benefits.
Okay. Sure. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else who would like to share who directly benefited?
Participants and ultimately the business.
Okay. Okay. Next question is, who played a role in approving it?
Pardon?
Who played a role in approving the training?
The stakeholder and the higher management.
So when you say stakeholder, who is that?
So, yeah, so in this case, the training was from Singapore University of Social Sciences. So definitely their management and the management from outward bound Vietnam. And second level of approval was from head of operation after screening all the medical tests and then, the profile of the participant. So those two levels.
Okay. The third question, who needed to see results from the training?
Management,
Okay, management.
So trainers themselves.
trainers themselves, yes.
Okay, trainers themselves. Okay. Who else?
Participant 2.
Participants. Okay. Okay, next question. Did anyone
Customers also
resist?
included.
Yes, go ahead, please. Okay. The next question I have is, did anyone resist or question the training?
Can you repeat me?
Sure.
Did anyone resist or question the training?
We spending more. So I will be,
No,
making
actually,
that
I mean, in
proposal
my
for you.
case, no, it did
And,
happen
will you
because
mind to share your
of the
email ID
different
where I
stage
can
of needs analysis and, outcome, uh, setting goals and other things.
Okay.
So there was a flow
Okay, thank you,
properly,
Umesh.
and
I
it
will-
was 8 days program in outdoors. But initial stage, the participant mindset was different, uh, and gradually but they were not reluctant.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was no resistance. Anybody else? Did you have
Unions,
any resistance?
unions, associations, normally they object.
Hmm.
They want that fund to be utilized in welfare activities.
Okay.
Uh, so- Sometimes it is coming from a business in terms of the results. I mean,
Okay.
they are not getting as per their expectations.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Hardik. Okay, last question. So, who are all these people put together? If you have to give one name to everybody who are on your list, what was the name that you would give them all?
Ma'am, it was not audible
All
properly.
them
Can you please
stakeholders.
repeat the question?
So if
Just
you
break.
have to give one name, maybe I'll just go off camera if it's still the audio because I don't know, there seems to be, yeah. So the question was, what does this tell you? The list that you have, if you have to give one name to all the people mentioned on your list, what is the name that you would give them?
Stakeholder?
Perfect. So that is what we will do today, which is stakeholders' approach to measurement and evaluation. Any questions so far? Any thoughts to share on the stakeholders?
Ma'am, could you please repeat your third question that you asked before this?
Maybe I'll just put all the questions on the chat.
Please,
I
yeah.
don't remember the order that I use them in,
Sure.
but I
So
will put
Umesh,
the questions on
will
the
you
chat.
please share me this?
All right, ma'am.
Your
Thank you.
Google.
I think there is somebody who's not on mute. It will be helpful if everybody could go on mute, please. Or maybe what I will do is I'll put all of you on mute and then unmute myself. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Am I audible? I don't think you have, are you able to hear me well? Oh, so every training initiative is influenced by multiple stakeholders. Some are directly involved, while others are indirect influence. So understanding these connections, the way that you drew, the way you drew, and what is this whole concept of drawing this called? I know I'm digressing, but what is this called in training? What you see on the screen, the template, what is it called?
Mind mapping.
Mind mapping, yes. So what we did was a mind mapping exercise where you put in who are different stakeholders. So understanding these connections helps you in designing, executing, and evaluating training more effectively. So the next question that I have for you all is, before I talk about this is where we are, syllabus, just a quick check what we did in last class. We completed the module 1. Today, we are going to take up the module 2. So we are going to look at some of the theories of stakeholder approach and Yeah, so that's the plan for today. So who are stakeholders? I know you put them, you know the examples, but if you have to define who are the stakeholders, how will you define them? I see that there is still an option. Okay.
Ma'am, stakeholders are the people. Should I answer or should I put it in the chat, ma'am?
Oh, please answer. I can hear you. I don't know. I just took on, I was in the whole session. I don't know. Just with this Zoom, I have an issue. Let me try to figure it. But please go ahead and answer.
Ma'am, stakeholders are the people who help us in the trainings that we do. They are a supporting element or they act as a catalyst. So when we plan for a training, we have various stakeholders like the mind mapping exercise that we just told. So we need support of all the other departments when we talk as stakeholders. So internal and external is there as well as how you have portrayed in your screen. So this is what a stakeholder means to me, ma'am.
Okay, you're right. Stakeholder is any individual or group that has an interest in or is affected by a particular initiative, decision, or outcome. Every organization operates in a network of stakeholders. So in business setting, customers, employees, shareholders, regulators, and suppliers, they are all stakeholders. I have another question for you all. Maybe I'll have to type it as well if you're still not able to hear me. But can you think of a real life example where stakeholder influence changed the course of a business decision? I've put the question for you all on the chat as well. Can you think of a real life example where stakeholder influence changed the course of a business decision? Yeah, go ahead, please, Purushottam or Sunil, any of you. You could just go off mute and share.
In in case of customers, okay, so if you want to achieve customer requirements, so they're going to tell, so this kind of training you have to provide for your employees. Okay, so by that time, if you want to continue business with them, means, so we have to definitely we have to do we have to achieve their requirements.
Okay.
Especially in some kind of like manufacturing or any industries. So we want to meet their requirements.
Okay. So you want to build on it or?
Yeah, like especially some kind of the trainings they will ask. Okay, so you want to perform this task, means, so this person knows like he has to know the skills and all those things. Okay, so that will be the customer expectation.
Based on your saying that the customers, because their expectations were different, that's a real life example you're trying to give. Okay, thank you for sharing. Anybody else who would like to add? Where what I'm trying to look for is where you were planning for something else, but because of the input that you received from the stakeholders, you had to change the course that you were thinking in, change the direction completely.
It can be funding, or we
Okay.
can say budget. That also it impacts the training. So as per the budget also, we have to look into it.
Okay. True. Okay. So,
But maybe the duration, the number of days that we plan for training.
Okay. How is that changing? So if you can elaborate.
But maybe we have planned a session for maybe 10 days. and the stakeholders requirement says that 7 days of training program is sufficient for the for the leaders. So looking on that, is that what is your question based on?
Oh, that could be a valid example. Yes, you're right. So you thought 10 days is what you need, but when you spoke to stakeholders based on their inputs, you had to bring it down. Okay.
Exactly, we had to
Any other
rework on
example?
the
Okay, maybe let me
content.
give you an rework on the content.
Ma'am,
Okay.
Ma'am, shall I
Yes,
add?
Satya.
Ma'am,
Yeah,
actually, I'm
please.
working in a government project. So here, what we have seen is that we have given training for the final year students, and we were trying to get them placed. But after focusing on the final year students, we came to know that all of the students are not more interested, or in order to means like they are not the immediate job seekers. So we just shifted from the final years, focus on from the final years to the immediate job seekers, and then developed a training content and module so that the immediate job seekers will be getting benefit from the training sessions. So this was a thing which we have adopted. That is that so which you meant?
Sure. Maybe I'll give you an example and then see how, and maybe then you'll all be able to relate to it. So I was talking to somebody recently, and they were part of a customer. They have a customer support. They're part of the customer support team. I've switched on my video. Tell me if the audio gets any patchy or if you're still able to hear me, please.
Is
You're
audio
able to
clear?
hear me?
Ma'am, your audio is now clear. It's going good.
Clear? Okay, perfect. Because I don't prefer switching off the camera. So yeah. So I was talking to somebody who was part of the customer support, and with AI, there has been so much of advancement in the AI, and they wanted AI chatbot for their customer service. And there were a lot of discussions that the leadership team and the IT team were pretty excited about the automation and the efficiency gains. But then when they had the stakeholder discussions, the customer support team raised a major concern. And they said customers preferred human interaction for complex queries, and an impersonal chatbot might negatively impact customer satisfaction. Initially, the organization, because they had gone far ahead, they really were looking for some open source chatbot, and they had done quite a few things on their own. So, but then they did take the feedback seriously, and they went and collected the feedback. And the data showed that while chatbots worked well with simple questions, but customer retention rates dropped when human support was limited. So based on that, though they had made quite an advancement in their plan, they had to revisit their strategy. They had to modify their strategy. And instead of full automation, they said they used a hybrid model. So where they said frequently asked questions, the FAQs, the chatbot will handle, but then human agents took over the complex cases. So this was something that, because with AI, everybody wants to take up things, but then we also need to see what our people want. So engaging, so stakeholders can drive, support, resist, or shape any initiative. And recognizing and engaging with them strategically is key to your success. So if you want your training program to be successful, you definitely need to keep your stakeholders in mind and have them and ensure that you have their complete buy-in in all your programs. So now that we have learned about stakeholders, how crucial they are, in the context of training, I'm sure you already have your diagrams. So stakeholders can be broadly classified into, I'm sure you have it on your list, but you have learners who are your participants, you have trainers, facilitators, you have the learning team, business leaders, you could have functional heads, you could have HR teams, finance teams, clients, customers, accrediting bodies. You could have, it could be external accrediting bodies. Okay, I think video is causing disturbance. Okay, so these could be your external. These could be your stakeholders with respect to the training. So now, when we know who are stakeholders, we know who are stakeholders in training, tell me, do you have, from your experience, have you encountered any unexpected stakeholder who influenced a training program? You never thought that they were stakeholders, but then they were, and they influenced the training program. Is my question, am I audible now? Do you all hear my question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
It's audible.
so maybe I'll give you an example of how, you never expect or you never think that they're stakeholders, but they end up. So this happened to me a few years back. We designed a leadership development program for mid-level managers. The primary, the stakeholders that we were engaged with was business leaders, and then we were from the L&D team, and then learners themselves. So we had rolled out the program, and it involved digital learning modules. So there were quite a few digital learning modules. And we had reached a stage of rollout. We had launched the program, but then midway through the program, we faced an unexpected challenge, and that was from the IT team. The training involved, as I said, digital modules, but the IT team raised concerns about security risks and compatibility issues with existing company software. So, and then they said we couldn't run the training. We had to stop the training midway. They said we had to seek external approval, not external, we had to seek approvals, and that approvals took time. And they even recommended alternate platforms, but we were already engaging with a vendor. But then, we had to do a lot of rework with our content delivery approach. And we never expected IT to be a stakeholder, but then they turned out to be, and then that was the big lesson learned. Initially, we didn't consider them a stakeholder, but their role was crucial in enabling the success of the program. And since then, I think it's a learning. We always check with IT and we engage with them early in any training initiative that involves technology. So sometimes we don't understand, we don't think that they are stakeholders, but they do. So training isn't just about learners. Multiple groups have a stake in its success, making evaluation complex but crucial. Any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
We could not.
Okay. Who are internal and external stakeholders? And I'm sure the diagram that you have in front of you should be able to help you answer this question.
The internal are the one who are the part of the organization, and the external is, let's say, a customer.
Okay. So yes, so we do have that understanding on internal and external customers. So, okay, then we now need to move on to, there are, so when we move from training delivery to evaluation, stakeholders' expectations also shift. Different stakeholders seek different insights from evaluating. So learners want to know, what is in it for me? Did it help me? What do trainers want to know? What do trainers want to know? That's a question for you all. Learners want to know what is in it for them, and did it help them? What would trainers want to know?
Ma'am, whether the purpose was served, whether whatever
Trainers
the
would want to know.
Yes, they want to know whether their method worked. What do L&D teams want to know? They want to know whether the learning objectives translated into impact. What do business leaders want to know? They want to know whether it is driving performance, whether the program is driving performance and business results. And what does finance team want to know? They want to know whether the ROI is justified. So the same stakeholders, their expectations, the expectations from different stakeholders are very different when it comes to measurement and evaluation. So to give you all an example, imagine a leadership development program for, let's say we were talking of mid-level managers before. I think the example I gave you. Let's continue with that. Post-training evaluation can yield different insights from different stakeholders. So if it is a leadership development program, learner may focus on personal career growth. A business leader may check if the team performance has improved. HR may look at leadership pipeline readiness to see, and the finance team may analyze the might analyze the cost benefit metrics. So like that, every stakeholder have their own roles to play. Okay, so with that, evaluation is not just about numbers, and there are two kinds of evaluation. You have direct versus indirect stakeholders. So who are these direct stakeholders? Those who are immediately involved in training and evaluation. Their roles directly influence or are influenced by the results of the training. The examples are learners, trainers, business managers, HR team, L&D team. But there are indirect stakeholders too. These are people who are not actively involved but are impacted by the training outcomes. Their interests are tied to either long-term benefit results, compliance, or client satisfaction. It could be your leadership team, senior executive, clients and customers. Sometimes it's regulatory bodies, finance team, in my example, IT team. So they may not, but there are quite a few indirect stakeholders as well. Any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
In your to help you understand direct and indirect stakeholders, what you could do on your paper is maybe just mark who are direct stakeholders, who are indirect stakeholders. That will also help you a good idea to segregate and to understand that there can be who are from your program, who were the direct stakeholders and who were indirect. So I'll just give you a quick 30 seconds to do that, please. Okay, I'm assuming that you all are have done that. So let's move on, and there have been a lot of there are a lot of theories, and we're going to delve into 4 theories. But why do we need to understand these theories? Training programs don't exist in isolation. Their success depends on various of these stakeholders, as we have already established. So training evaluation focuses only on learners and business outcomes. So I think the Kirkpatrick, or there are different models, I'm sure in the coming sessions, we will look at almost 10, 12 different models to evaluate training. But they only focus on learners and business outcomes. But what about trainers, business sponsors, clients? So stakeholders theories helps us adopt a broader, more strategic view of training effectiveness, ensuring long-term impact. So now let's look at some key theories and try to understand it better. There are 4 theories that we're going to discuss today. And let's start with Freeman's stakeholder theory. Anybody who's heard it? Okay. So Freeman, in the year 1984, he challenged the traditional business mindset that only stakeholders matter. He argued that business must consider the interest of all stakeholders and not anyone who can affect or be affected by the organization. So he said it's not just the internal stakeholders, but there are external stakeholders also who need to be considered. If you see the diagram, there is a classification given. So he said that every business must consider everybody's interest. Training affects more than just the learners. Initially, we would always, most of our training programs would focus only on learners. But then he said, let's challenge that. So he said employees gain skills, trainers design and deliver effective sessions, managers, customers, leaders, everybody is important. And we must consider all of them. So if we only measure how well employees learned, we'll miss the bigger picture of how the training impacts customer satisfaction, management engagement, and business results. So that's where his theory reminds us, don't just focus on learners, consider every stakeholder that training impacts. So that's about Freeman's theory. Let's look at performance prison. Neely and Adams spoke about the performance prison in 2003. So unlike traditional performance measurement frameworks that focus only on the financial results, performance prism suggests that organizations should evaluate performance based on how well they balance stakeholders' needs and contributions. So there were 5 facets of the performance prism that he spoke about. So if you see on the screen, you can see all the facets. Stakeholder satisfaction was the first. Are employees, managers, business sponsors satisfied with the training outcomes? Are they happy? So because they also need to be. So that was his first. Next is stakeholder contribution. What do stakeholders provide to make the training successful? Most of the times our stakeholders question, where is the ROI? Did it benefit? But then what is it that they contribute? And what is it that they can do to contribute? If somebody would like to go off mute. What can our stakeholders do or provide to make the training successful?
They can state their expectations.
Say that again, please.
They can state their expectations from the program.
State their expectations, yes, but what is there? Are they contributing to the success by stating their expectation?
They can be a co-facilitator also many times.
Co-facilitators, yes. So maybe yes, that is a good point. So they must actively support. They must be a part of it, either join, send communication, set right expectations by being part of the sessions, come to the session in the first 5 minutes and talk about how important it is, help you in getting more, in ensuring that there is seriousness in the program. So being involved, so that is their contribution. Strategies. Does the training align with overall business strategy, processes, which was the fourth facet, which is, are the right systems in place to ensure its training is applied effectively? Fifth was capabilities. Does the organization have the right skills, resources to make the training successful? Neely and Adams, to summarize, what they are trying to tell us is training isn't just about the learners. It's about aligning stakeholder satisfaction with their contribution, strategies, and processes. Any questions? Do we understand why we need to know these theories?
Ma'am, this figure, once again, ma'am, this stakeholder satisfaction, it goes from left to right. Yeah, just once again, ma'am, I want to understand this.
It can go in any order. So there are different stakeholders. There is no set order for it. So it can be processes. It's just that you are considering all the stakeholders. In your case, whichever stakeholder is there, you can consider them.
Into the objective part.
But if you want to, you can say strategies, then you're saying processes and capabilities, but they all put together lead to stakeholder satisfaction. Because not every time you will have all of these in place, but yeah, that depends. Can I move on? Any other question, or is there anything on the chat that I have missed? Okay. Let's move on to Fred. Nicole's stakeholder approach, it's the put in and take out model. So Nicole's extended the, so I think maybe before I talk about this, let me talk about, 1 minute. I think let me talk about Yeah. Okay. So I think I missed adding one model and I see a repetition. Maybe when I share the slides with you, I will change that. So before we move on to Fred, there's another model that we will talk about, which is contribution inducement theory. And then I will move on to the third one that you see is contribution inducement theory. So organizations function effectively only. So what uh, Bernard was the initial. He initially started this, and then Simon and March joined in. They said organizations function effectively only if they balance what employees put in, as is what is they contribute and what they receive, which is inducement. So contributions and inducements. Balancing contribution and inducements in training is very important. So time spent in training is contribution. And if a participant is putting in time, what is the inducement for the participant? Career growth. So if they're looking at the time, if I'm spending 1 year in this, am I getting a career growth? That could be the inducement. Efforts to learn skill, recognition could be a inducement. Promotion could be an inducement. So if you are, so that is what the theory said. They spoke about if employees don't engage if they don't see any ROI. Successful training must ensure stakeholders feel that they are gaining value in return for their effort. That was this approach. Now, Fred Nichols' stakeholder approach built on the same. They built on the contribution endorsement theory, and then they created. He came up with his approach. He said, emphasizing training must balance what stakeholders will put in and what they take out. So if you see the table, employees will put in time, effort, motivation, and they take out career growth and recognition. So that, and if you want to look at an application, let's assume, let me give you an example to help you understand how these are applied. Let's take an example of a company that launches a leadership program, but employees don't take it seriously and managers don't reinforce it. So as per Freeman, as per the Nichols trainers stakeholders approach, and let's look at all the four. So maybe I'll give you the scenario here and let's look at all the four. Maybe, yeah, let's look at the scenario. Just read the scenario, please, on your own. The company is rolling out a digital skills training for employees to support their shift to AI-driven operations. However, past training programs have seen low engagement and poor application of skills. Now, if you have to use the stakeholder theory, how will you connect? So how will you apply? Let's start with Freeman stakeholders theory. What will you do as per Freeman?
Like, is the benefit for what is the benefit for external stakeholders and the internal stakeholders? So, what are the advantages for
all the stakeholders? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, please.
What is the benefit for employees? Okay, and managers maybe they're going to reduce a lot of problems. Okay, for owners also it will be helpful, like for any others also. In case of external, like customers is going to get good satisfaction because of advanced technology. So shared roles also it will be profitable. For customers also it will be profitable. Okay, for society also it will be indirect benefit for society as well as government, because if you're not going to use some of the papers and all those things, so example I am telling, so it will be benefit for society also, like how we are going to reduce the garbages and all those things. Okay, so it means it will be purely of digital only. So no need to go with like olden style of training.
Okay, so here in this situation, their programs you're rolling out to support this shift. In the past, they have seen low engagement and poor application. So now you're talking to all the stakeholders to understand so that you cater to everybody so that your program becomes successful.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
I think another hand was raised. Subhashini.
Here, according to Freeman, he says that every stakeholder is very important when we do the training, be it internal or external. So we need to, as per the present situation, because there was low engagement and poor application of skills, we need to involve the internal stakeholders in the training so that the seriousness is brought in the training and there is active involvement of the stakeholder also. So the seriousness is both from the trainer's point of view and from the business point of view as well, to increase the digital learning also. So this is what I feel, ma'am.
Perfect. So you will also external, maybe customers, you'll do a survey. What do you think? Where do you think the team is lacking? So you will engage everybody. Okay. Let's move on to performance prism. If you have to include that, how would you align this? You will align training with digital strategy and processes to support adoption. So there are 5 facets. So you will try aligning the training with the digital strategy, and then you see if all the processes are in place to support adoption. Okay. So how about contribution inducement theory?
In the case, I believe the contribution was the participation and the time invested by the participants, and the inducement would be the outcome which was generated.
Correct. So last time you didn't see any benefit. So here you will tell them what is in it for them. So you will state clear benefits of using the tools. Yes, Subhashini, I see your hand is raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am. Contribution when it comes to what is the time spent in training, and inducement, as you told, it's career growth. So while using this digital skills, we need to explain the participants or inform him that it's going to save his time, how it's going to benefit the participants. If he was to use the old methods, how it's going to, lengthen his time, and how the, how, and that time could be used very productively in all the other aspects. So that aspect needs to be educated to the participant as well as the stakeholder. So it is time spent in training and how it's going to impact career-wise for a participant also.
Okay, perfect. What about the next one? Nichols' theory. And also Nichols' stakeholder approach. Maybe to help you understand it very simple, contribution inducement is more of the scope is organizational effectiveness. The scope for Nichols' stakeholder approach is training effectiveness. So the focus in the first one, contribution inducement, is employee engagement and motivation. In Nichols' stakeholder approaches, balancing all stakeholder contributions and expectations. So that's how you'll be able to differentiate. In the contributors and gains is usually in inducement, it is employees and employers. But in Nichols' stakeholder approach, it is managers, trainers, leadership. You talk about everybody. So think of contribution inducement as the foundation and Nichols' model as the application and training evaluation. So that's how the key difference is. So now if you have to bring in the Nichols in this example, how would you do it?
I believe since we are speaking of application, it can be from each and every trainee, what they are supposed to do and what is the outcome that they have generated after the program. So that will measure the training effectiveness part of it.
Yes, so involved here because here the next 2 key is leadership. So here you will look at how the leadership can contribute to the training.
But it will be all the stakeholders, huh, madam?
Correct, all the stakeholders. You covered, or you've already covered in employees and employers, you'll cover under contribution inducement. But in Nichols, you will ensure IT, leadership, the other stakeholders also contribute.
Yeah, true. Because actually it started with low engagement. That's the reason I was precisely speaking from the trainee point.
Okay, any questions so far before we move on? Have you all understood all the four?
A little on the stakeholder approach, Fred, the example which you had portrayed, if you can throw more light on that. Because
Which
it
example
contained a
did I
lot of
talk about?
parameters, the trainers, the trainees.
Okay,
So
let's go back to. So in the Fred Nichols approach, there are a lot of people who are involved. So you just try to see what is it that they put in and what is it that they benefit out of it. So if you see, I don't know if the font is too small, but you're all able to see the screen.
yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
Are you all able to see the table?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were talking of Freeman or Fred? I'm sorry, I missed that.
I'm talking about Fred.
Okay.
This only,
If
madam.
you see the table, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And this was the table which I was talking about. So I wanted more light on this.
Sure. So if you see, the contribution is for trainers, their time, energy, skills, knowledge, that is the time that they've invested. Then what is the inducement is the recognition, personal satisfaction, if there is any pay hike. So that is the takeout, that is the inducement for them. For training managers, it's the resource commitment, it's the direction that they give, support that they provide, leadership that they show. So that is their contribution. What do they get? It could be again pay, pride, sense of pride that their team has achieved something, status or standing in the organization, influence, seat at the table. So these are some of the inducements or the takeout that they get. Similarly, it's the same for for funding managers, money, sanction, support, operational and financial impact. So for every stakeholder, he talks about what is the contribution and what is the inducement.
So it will include both internal, external, both stakeholders.
Say that again, please.
Will it consider both internal or external, both, or only internal?
Here, that's the difference I was talking to you about when I mentioned about both. So Nicholas, in Fred Nicholas, it is all stakeholders' contributions and expectations. But in Bernard, it's only employee engagement and motivation. So here you have employees and employers. But in Nichols, it's everybody.
Okay.
Any other questions before we move on? Okay. Do you want me to give you another? What I would do now is I'll give you another scenario. Maybe I'll also put it up on the chat and I'll give you 10 minutes. I'll divide you all into groups so that you can all discuss among the group, in the group, and also see how these stakeholders, maybe then discuss it among the group in a smaller group to see how much you've understood. If you have any questions, and then we can always come back and discuss it in the larger group. So I'll also put this scenario here on the chat. And I'll quickly send you all to the breakout rooms. 1 minute. There are 30, so maybe let's have 4 breakout rooms. I've opened all the rooms. But you've not been able to move to a room. Do you want me to move you to some room? Please join your respective rooms. NS Rao, Om Kumar. Let me know if you need any help. Welcome back. I still see people are slowly trickling back. Let's give them all a minute. The room should automatically close. Okay, as the teams come in, let's hear the solution. Which team wants to go first?
You go first, group 1.
No, please go ahead.
Hardik, you want to go? Freeman. Muted.
Yeah, I'll go with it. Okay, so as for the discussion with the different theories, we came out with the different solutions as per the theories, and every one of us from a team will speak for one theory. So here I'll be taking up this Freeman's theory. As per the need of the requirement, we have to engage or we have to pursue the senior leadership as well as the managers for uh, the program, the leadership development program. So since the past was uh, maybe the managers might not have seen a good results. So here how we would like to go about as per the Freeman's model, Freeman's theory. We will take the outcome to the managers as well as to the senior leadership. This is what uh, the current status, that's the pre-training status, and what would be the post-training status. We also will try to involve the leadership themselves into the that means a approach of a collaboration into the process. Will bring the leadership into the process of training itself. So these are the few approach that we can have, which can make the leadership involved into the process.
Okay,
That's
so
from
you
a
are, yeah, and who are the key stakeholders as per
here.
your?
Yeah, so key stakeholders here, as per the Freeman's theory, it would be the senior leadership, because this is what we feel, and we discussed that this is before training, I think. So
Sure.
far, we need to pursue the leadership for the no better engagement as well as a proper follow-up. So
Sure.
the
So
key
it's your leadership.
stakeholders,
Who else? Okay.
yeah, and the managers, the line
Okay.
managers.
How about employees
Trainers.
are not your stakeholders, HR team, L&D team?
If we, can I jump in?
Sure, sure.
See, when we consider this Freeman theory, we are actually considering all the internal as well as external stakeholders.
Correct.
So in this case, obviously, right from an HR department to someone from the back-end team to the managers to the senior leadership to the trainees, all will be considered as the internal stakeholders. When it comes to the external stakeholders, where this job function is impacting at the end of the day, may it be the customers or any such person where we are not catering probably directly as training or L&D professionals, but they are someone who gets influenced because of the activity. Those will be the external stakeholders.
Okay. Sure. So your practical approach would be to involve senior leaders. Maybe you could call them as guest speakers to show their commitment to the program. You can involve direct reports. Maybe you could do a 360-degree feedback component. So these are some of the practical actions you could take to ensure that there is good involvement by your external and internal stakeholders. Okay, we can move on to the next one.
In this case, if in case you allow to add one more thing.
Yeah, please.
Here we can in fact pitch in for understanding that are the trainers competent enough. So in terms of understanding the competency level of the internal department, in terms of delivery and the context setting. is also one thing which can be looked into.
Sure. Perfect. Let's move on to the second one.
Performance prism
All
will
right,
be
so,
taken. Yeah, Rohit, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll speak
Once again,
about
Rohit,
the
I'll just
perform.
interrupt you. I just saw the time, it's 1:20. Any of the other teams would like to add for the first one before we have Rohit talk about the prism from your discussions in other groups? Let's close it together.
We have
Rao sir, you are there, Rao sir?
Ma'am, actually from Yes, team I am 2,
Yes.
team 2 we have different theories we adopted as per the different field we are working towards, right? So we are planning to explain those things. Half of my work is already done by Hardik Shah because he was also similar. We both are sailing on the same boat in the training department. So only point what we just want to add is because where we get differ with the senior leadership may be the generation. So the current generation needs a different type of teaching methodology and training methodology compared to the senior leadership, those who are having their own opinion of training. So that is the main point we want to focus when we are discussing about the Freeman theory. This is for marketing field of pharmaceutical products. Now Subhashini will add to her financial team which theory she is going to adopt.
Okay.
Ma'am, just to add on, like how Arul was telling, the stakeholder theory applies for him. Maybe in the financial sector, I would go with the theory of contribution and inducement theory, where we need to tell what is the time spent on training and what is the ROI and what is the productivity increase in the financial sector when it comes to the participants. So if I have to train a lot of 10 people, how it's going to impact the productivity and how it's going to make their work easier. So if I have to select the theory, I would go with Fred Nichols' theory, ma'am.
Okay, sure. So I'm still in the first one now. Anybody would like to add anything on Freeman stakeholders theory? So we've right now spoken about engaging to solve for this problem, which is the scenario. Maybe I should bring up the screen again so that we don't lose track. Anybody else who would like to talk about the first one before we move on to Prism?
Ma'am, actually, this is Vikas speaking.
Yes.
Madam, it's free theory is the nice approach because what is happening is, when the frontline person is not performing, then first of all, the first question comes to in my mind whether all at the set competencies level, which organization sets for the sales executive, whether those competencies my people have or not. If those competencies are missing, then it is a job of first line manager to develop those competencies in the first line person. If he's not able to do it, then what are the competencies for first line manager? So is it people development? Is it analytical skill? It is strategic planning. So he's also my stakeholder. Then the most important stakeholder, if you ask me, madam, this first line person would be there because he should give us in training need analysis that what contribution the first line manager does when he is working with him in joint field work or maybe in machinery work, what guidance he expect and what guidance he is actually getting. Then, madam, subsequently, the the second line manager will be my second most important customer. Then third line, then the LNOD, then HR. I'll go them to later. But first is madam, the first line person. What pain he is having, and that pain is getting solved by the guidance in terms of coaching by the first line manager or not. This is our point.
Okay, sure. I think Rohit will go to you next. You can continue with the Prism. You can start off and then we'll have others chime in.
Okay, so the scenario that you provided, I'll explain the performance prism. So here we've got 5 perspectives. Even before we enter talk about the perspectives, we need to understand that we must first identify all the stakeholders involved. So in this case, we'll have stakeholders like your senior leadership, first-time managers, employees, HR team, learning and development team. So we need to list these stakeholders first, and then understand what do these stakeholders want, and then what do these stakeholders need to contribute for success what will be the strategies that will drive the success, what processes are required for execution, and what resources and competencies are required. So these would be your 5 perspectives. So I'll just put in a few examples here. So say like, we identified senior leadership as a stakeholder. So what does the senior leadership want? They'd want, capable managers who can lead teams effectively. Another stakeholder would be a first-time manager. What do they want? They want, say, career growth, leadership skills. Now, there are employees who report to these managers. So what do the employees expect out of this program? They would expect things like, a supportive manager, a skilled manager. So here the action is align the leadership training with business goals and provide a structured follow-up support. So an example here we could say is, HR could include mentoring and executive sponsorship to ensure that there is senior leadership engagement. Now, when we move to what do stakeholders need to contribute for success, the expectation would be that senior leadership should be proactive and they should act as sponsors and endorse the program. And first-time managers should actively participate in it. HR and L&D teams can ensure ongoing coaching and feedback mechanisms. What strategies would drive it? Possibly integrate real-world leadership challenges into the training, provide incorporate blended learning experience, and ensure that this aligns with business objectives. It could be like reduce attrition. It could be about improving engagement. So the idea is to introduce a learning journey approach where training is spread over time and not just a one-time event. Possibly like, a 6-month leadership academy, which combines different types of learning, like, it could be e-learning, it could be mentoring, it could be peer coaching, things like that. When we talk about, the processes that would be required to execute this, I'd say, something like a pre-assessment to identify skill gaps, ensure that learning is interactive, have case studies, role-playing, feedback loops, and then obviously have a post-training evaluation to measure the impact. So, a structured feedback a system where you could have employees provide 360-degree reviews on their managers. And, managers receive this monthly feedback reports which can, help them track the leadership progress. And then when it comes to resources and competencies required, which are your capabilities, we would require trainers who have leadership experience. We would require, say, platforms which have digital learning platforms for flexible accessibility. And then HR would require, something to analyze, maybe an analytics tool to track leadership performance post-training. Yep. So by applying, this performance prism, we can ensure that stakeholders' needs are met. And in this scenario, it drives long-term leadership growth and it aligns with business performance.
Thank you so much, Rohit. I think that was very well explained. So mainly here, and I liked what you said about mentoring. So maybe the practical action could be assigning leadership mentors to every manager, say for 6 months, or creating a manager checklist. So I think, yes, so that you're right. Let's move on. I think considering there is less time, so let's move on to the inducement contribution theory. I'll quickly take you all through it so that there is so that we don't spend too much time. We're already over 2 minutes. So if you have to take the third one, inducement contribution theory, you will have to check what is the inducement for the employee. Is the training linked to career progression? Do the participants feel their leadership success benefits the company? So that's the contribution bit. And if there is a mismatch, what can you do? Maybe completion of leadership training, maybe make it mandatory for promotions for senior leaders. saying that if you complete this training, then you're eligible for getting a promotion. That could be one. Providing on-the-spot awards or recognition and incentives for managers who demonstrate strong leadership behaviors. That could also be one of the practical inducements, so that you from this, based on this theory. The last one is Nicole's stakeholder management approach. Based on this, what is it that you will check? How do we know if managers are actually applying their learning? So maybe you could do a 360. I think Rohit spoke about it, 360-degree feedback on leadership skills. You could assess them after 6 months. So maybe, and the outcome could be, you could, what are the practical actions that you could take? You could maybe do a real world leadership simulation instead of just a classroom session. You could do employee engagement. You could have a scorecard and do a comparison before and after. So create that interest so that you are able to measure the leadership impact. Okay. On that note, to conclude, these theories, the final takeaways may be very important. Learning, training evaluation should move beyond just assessing learners to include, and you should include managers, leadership, clients, business impact. So you should widen your stakeholders, the scope, you should widen it and not just keep your learners in mind when you're designing. That should be your key takeaway. And successful programs always balance stakeholder satisfaction and stakeholders' contribution. So ensure that your leadership also contributes. Involve them in your programs. Ensure that they also have a key role to play. They also have an equal responsibility. So ensure that they contribute. So that is something that we can demand from the training team and make them to contribute. Training must provide clear inducements. So I think never start a program without telling the stakeholder, the participants, what is in it for them, or the stakeholders. Even if there is a person on the, if it's an in-house training and you have a trainer in-house, what is in it for them to come and do this training? Are you giving them a bonus? Are you giving them an award? Are you giving them a recognition in your town hall? Something. Otherwise, people will not be interested. And stakeholder alignment is key. If any group is disengaged, training effectiveness suffers. So as HR and L&D leaders, your role in ensuring training is not just an event, but an ecosystem is very important. So use these theories to design, evaluate programs that truly drive impact. So don't leave it in the session here. I would want you all to think about it, and next time, whenever you are designing a program or a learning intervention, think about this, so that it's not just on the book or on the slide, but there is practically you're able to use it. With that, I end the session here, and we'll meet next week. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.